Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Tower of God New World. In today's video, we are going to talk about Yiwa, SSR Yiwa, and I'm pretty much going to go over why I feel like this unit, she is slowly losing her value, but there are two characters who can pretty much amplify Yiwa's overall performance. So, a lot of people, including me, have been saying recently that Yiwa, her performance at the late game, on higher floors, her performance isn't consistent and she would die fast, or she's not able to deal a lot of damage because enemies are constantly activating shields. If you're not using her with that as a heart, she pretty much useless. She's just sitting there not doing much. So Yua, this unit, she is very good at the early phase of the game. Pretty much a god tier DPS unit. If you are a new player and if you're using Yua, she will carry you at the early phase of the game. But I will argue that once you progress more, once you reach the mid game, I'll say once you reach at least floor 50, you'll realize that she'll either die off immediately or she won't be able to deal as much damage because there are so many enemies in Adventure where you have Datamashni who has the immortality, you have Flight Eric Masno who has that tanky ass barrier, you have Ron May who's activating the tanky barrier as well. You have so many units who are just pretty much invincible in Adventure mode, and Iwa, she can't do much when it comes to countering these type of units. When you have Vile using his barrier and he's pretty much invincible, Iwa's just sitting there. She's like, I don't know what I can do. So I'm saying, like, I'm at a point where for this unit, as you guys can see, I haven't even invested in her ignition weapon because I stopped building her. I mostly focused on my Yi ring. I'm mostly trying to focus on my Yi ring because whetstones are so hard to get in this game. It is so it's not easy for you to level up ignition weapons. So you really have to prioritize which units are going to benefit your account. And as of right now, Yi ring is benefiting me way more than Yiwa. So therefore, I'm investing in my Yi ring instead. But for going back to Yiwa, now for this unit, for her Revolution tier 4 and 5, I do feel like there was a lot of, how can I say this? There was a lot of potential for this unit if her tier 4 and 5 was pretty good. Like for tier 4, it would have been nice if they allowed her to shred through enemy shields. Would that be broken? Maybe, but it would have been really nice if they allowed her to shred through enemy shields with her special move. And then for tier 5, she can probably get like a 30% of physical and magic resistance boost when she activates her ultimate, or when she activates her, let's say, barrier or whatever. Like she will pretty much get a 30% magic and physical resistance boost. But for her tier 4, it's pretty mid. Like recovers HP equal to 200% of damage dealt is really mid. It's not really worth it, to be honest. And then for her tier 5, she's pretty much adding ember stacks when she hits enemies with her special move. So I will say the tier 5 isn't bad, but wasting all of your revolution fragments on a unit that feels really underwhelming at the late game, it's not really worth it. So what I decided to do with this character is I decided to pretty much use physical and magic resistance for her slot 4 and 5. So I'm going to go ahead and use a Punisher and build on her. So for this build, we have the attack speed set, and then as you guys can see, for magic and physical resistance, she has 88% and 75%. Now, sure, she will lose a huge amount of damage because she's not running crit damage increase and magic pierce, but like I said, the main issue with this character at the late game is her survivability. So putting on magic and physical resistance on her and pairing her up with Garam and Anak, she's actually pretty good because Garam, for her ultimate, she's pretty much increasing a special move pierce, and she's increasing physical and magic resistance, which is very nice. Plus, she's shredding the enemy's defense for this active skill right here. So Garam is definitely really great for Yiwa. And then Anak is just absolutely perfect. Anak is literally perfect for every single DPS unit in the game. So she has that energy restoration. She has the physical and magic resistance buff by like 50%. So keep in mind, running physical and magic resistance on Yiwa plus the 50% physical magic resistance increase coming from Anak's special move, she's pretty much over the 100% threshold, which is very nice. So Iwa is pretty much, very tanky paired with Anak and Garam. And then for active skill, of course, you have the uh if we come over here, you have the attack speed increase and attack increase, which is very nice. Plus you have the barrier. So Anak is just very, very good with Iwa. So we're gonna go ahead and enter adventure mode. And then we're just going to enter this boss stage right here. Let me put in a very squishy unit. We're going to put in compressed drag. We're going to put in squishy units, but we're just going to test out Yiwa in this team with Garam and Anak. And I want you guys to really pay attention to this. We're going to go ahead and enter battle right here. Enter battle. Once I finish the first round, we're just going to fast forward to the results so that you guys can see the stats. All right, here we go. So we have hats pretty much there to cleanse our team and shred defense, but Garam died, which is unfortunate, but Anak is still alive. So look at that physical and magic resistance increase, and Joaquin wasn't able to do much to Yiwa because of Anak's ultimate, which is insane. So Evan Kell still alive right there. So she still died. But the thing is, the fact that Yiwa was able to be like the last unit remaining on the battlefield is pretty impressive with these two units. We're going to go ahead and retry that one more time. I feel like the reason why Garam died right there is because she was in the front row. So we're just going to try to put a Garam in the back right here. Actually, we should probably put Garam on this side instead. And then hopefully Garam is able to stay alive because we want Garam to activate that special move Pierce. That's why I feel like for Garam, you need max copies on her because activating that special move Pierce immediately is so beneficial for DPS units who rely on their special moves. So hopefully Garam is able to stay alive and activate that buff for Iwa. But let's see what happens, man. So far Garam almost has that special move. Come on, please activate it. Come on, there we go. So special move increase. Yiwa has her ultimate. Come on. All right, there we go. So now Yiwa activates her ultimate right there. Look how much damage Evan Kell took right there. So you guys see what I'm talking about. Garam and Anak paired with Yiwa is actually pretty good. So if you're not using these two characters with Yiwa, Yiwa's performance is definitely underwhelming without these two units. So after we I'm going to fast forward through these 3 rounds, and I'm going to show you guys Yiwa's performance without Anak and Garam. So here are the stats. As you guys can see, we got 33 billion damage coming from Yiwa right there, which is very, very impressive. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to retry that. And this time, actually, we're going to exit out. We're going to exit out because we won the first round, and they're not going to let us try that again. So let's exit out right here. Enter back again. Dude, these loading screens, man, so frustrating. But let's go ahead and reattempt this. So this time we're going to take out Garam. We're going to take out Anak. We're just going to use, a normal light element team. So we're just going to put in Comp Rack right here. I'm going to put in Comp Rack. If I can actually find him. Actually, he was over here. Let's just put him in this team. There we go. Comp Rack up here. And then we're going to put Evan. So this is pretty much like, your typical light element team. You have Evan who's going to revive, Hats being your tank unit, Bomb being your energy provider. Pretty much the casual light element team. So what we're going to do is we're going to see Yiwa's performance. This time I'm going to take out the magic and physical resistance build on her. We're going to take it off and we're going to put the crit damage increase build back on her. And you guys are going to see how squishy she really is without Anak and Garam. Let's go ahead and let's just put Rachel in here. Yeah, let's just put Rachel instead. But you guys are going to see how squishy Yiwa is without Anak and Garam. Like without the physical and magic resistance boost, she is just going to get one tapped, or she's not going to be able to deal a lot of damage to the enemy team. So let's just see what happens. And this also proves that light element team, I will say out of all the team comps, a light element team is very, very squishy. So look at that. Yiwa immediately one tap. Compressed track still alive, but they're probably gonna die eventually. But Evan, he activated immortality, which is very nice. I think we can still win this. but it seems like Ghost is just taking too much damage. Yeah, as you guys can see, everybody died right there. Our two DPS characters died. So that's what I'm talking about. You know, without a knocking Garam, she just dies immediately. And this time we're just gonna go ahead and put the physical and magic resistance build back on her. Over to punish her in. There we go. We're gonna put the build back on her, and let's see if she's able to stay alive with the physical and magic resistance build without a knock and Garam. All right, here we go. So physical and magic resistance build on Yiwa. She's able to activate her ultimate, but she's not doing insane damage. She was able to get rid of Joaquin, but this is what I'm talking about right here. She has great survivability with physical and magic resistance, but you are losing out on that damage. So look at that. She's just pretty much tickling the enemy and boom, everybody is dead. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like for Yiwa, you gotta use her with Anak and Garam. You gotta use her with those two units because they amplify her damage by a lot. That 60% special move Pierce is so cracked from Garam, and the physical and magic resistance increase coming from both units is just so valuable overall. So I do feel like without Anak and Garam, Yiwa, she just feels underwhelming without those two units. And if you're not using her with Anak and Garam, she's just there to pretty much die. So we're gonna go ahead and just put the damage build back on her. Let's put this back on her, and we're just gonna put the Punisher in build back on Punisher in. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys Yiwa's performance without those two characters. And does this mean that Yiwa as a unit, like does this mean that her value for beginner players is, you know, different now? Like, does it mean that she's no longer a valuable DPS unit for beginner players? No, she is still a very strong DPS unit for new players who are at the early phase of the game. But I will say, you know, if you are a player who's at like, you know, 450 or above, Yiwa, she's just not relevant in most situations, especially when it comes to fighting against enemies with barriers. But I will say when you use her with Garam and Anak, she definitely performs a lot better. She's not, you know, insanely busted because I'm pretty sure players who are in, you know, 480 and above, using her with Anak and Garam is not going to be enough. So I will say that Anak and Garam, they're just amplifying her performance. That's all I can say. They're just amplifying her performance. They're not making her insanely cracked. They're just amplifying her performance, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, it really sucks to see that Yiwa is currently falling off the meta, to be honest. Still amazing god tier DPS unit for new players, but for veteran players, she is definitely, you know, going down on the tier list little by little because there are just other DPS characters who just perform way better than her, especially Yi-Ring. If you have a Yi-Ring, there is literally no reason for you to even use Yiwa. I'm going to show you guys a quick example. Real quick, if we come over here to my record, there was like a fight where I used Yi-Ring and she was absolutely insane. So this fight right here, so she was able to do like 33 billion damage. The fact that she's able to group up enemies, keep them in one spot, very beneficial for units like Compressed Drag, Wangman, very beneficial. So I feel like Yi-Ring, is her value is going to increase the more units we have in the future. And then for Yiwa, the more DPS characters we have in the future, her value is just going to keep on diminishing. So Anak and Garam, they're just a temporary boost for Yiwa, but the more DPS units we have in the future, Yiwa, her performance is just gonna, you know, go down more and more and more because she's just not able to keep up with these new DPS characters coming into the game. And her Revolution tier 4 and 5, I was hoping that, you know, for a tier 4 and 5, it would have been really good, but unfortunately, it's just not crazy. It's just not enough to make this unit perform really, really well. And even though you get the special move Pierce from her nodes, for SSR characters, you don't really get, you know, a lot of value from their nodes compared to SSR plus units. So I don't know, man. It sucks to see how Yiwa is falling off, but she is still an amazing unit for beginner players, and that's all that matters. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk to you guys about in today's video. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate it. And tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Is Yua still a viable unit in higher floors, or is she falling off just a little bit because she's not able to perform as well as the DPS units we have in game right now? But I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll be catching you guys soon. Peace.